Ellen DeGeneres was daytime TV's queen of nice. She danced, she talked to cute kids, and surprise, she's a huge asshole.
Ellen DeGeneres feeling the heat.
Bullying, now even sexual harassment.
Hey, Ellen DeGeneres, I hope you never find employment again.
Turns out Shorty is a demon. Somebody stop this woman before it's too late.
So former employees actually said that Ellen's Be Kind mantra, it was
Part of my life.
I love the family that we've gained here. And something that I'll always remember is that you gave me a place.
So Ellen, she's extremely popular. She's presenting this image that she's this kind woman. People fall in love with her and they tune in to Ellen for kindness. But behind the scenes, there was an Ellen that the public did not know.
The Ellen DeGeneres show is facing new allegations this morning.
Ellen's
The Joe Rogan Experience.
It's like a beautiful name, Isis.
Ellen's rough.
Ellen is like an old.
But it's a rough one now.
It's a rough one now because she was running Abu Ghraib.
On May 28, 2025, in the Superior Court of California, Los Angeles, Judge Harrison Trent issued federal arrest warrant for Ellen DeGeneres after explosive courtroom audio from the late Stephen tWitch boss. Gasps rippled through the courtroom as reporters were escorted out, then rushed back in. Moments earlier, an encrypted voice memo, recorded just weeks before tWitch's death, was played aloud, and it changed everything. The voice was quiet but clear. No panic, no yelling, just words that landed like a match in dry grass. Explosive! By the time the tape ended, the courtroom wasn't just focused on Diddy anymore. The spotlight had shifted. Ellen DeGeneres, once daytime's most trusted face, was now the center of something far darker than just daytime TV.
So Ellen, she grew up in a middle-class family. She went to school at the University of New Orleans. She was only there for a semester, and then she started working in these nightclubs, establishing herself as a stand-up comic. She's making a living waiting tables, and she gets a big break by being named the funniest comic in America on Showtime.
For a while, you were the funniest person on the planet?
In America, not the planet.
Oh, yeah.
But the real big break for Ellen was when she appeared on the Johnny Carson show.
This is her first appearance on network television. Would you welcome Ellen DeGeneres? Ellen?
She wowed America, and she became a household name, appearing on the show several times after that.
Part of my life.
I love the family that we've gained here. And something that I'll always remember is that you gave me a place.
Twitch's voice didn't only sound scared, it sounded sure, like someone who had decided to tell the truth even if no one believed him. The memo was short, but every word counted. "This isn't random," he said at the start. "If they say it's suicide, no. This isn't random. This is because of what I know, what I saw." He spoke slowly, like he had thought about this for days, maybe weeks, maybe longer. His voice was quiet, but steady. The kind of tone someone uses when they've made peace with the fact that people might not help, but they still have to speak. He talked about hotel rooms, private parties, late-night meetings, not the kind most people imagine. Not glitter and champagne, these were cold, tense places, held in top-floor penthouses under fake names. People weren't invited, they were picked, phones taken, cameras everywhere. He said the air felt wrong, eyes watching from corners. Smiles that didn't feel real. Then he mentioned her. "I went with Ellen," he said. "She told me to smile. She told me everyone in that room was safe." But he didn't feel safe, not even close. "It felt like I was being picked," he added. That line stayed with everyone who heard it. He never said the word blackmail, but the way he described the pressure, the way things moved around him without his control, it didn't need to be said. You could hear it between the pauses. You could feel it in the way he chose his words.
So gay.
Why was it necessary for you to come out, tell the public? Why was it necessary for the character to do so?
Because it's okay. Because it is.
When news of Twitch's death came out in 2022, people were heartbroken. Fans lit candles, celebrities shared old videos. Social media was flooded with photos of him dancing, smiling, spreading joy.
On Wednesday, news broke that Stephen tWitch boss died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And now, ET has learned that the former Ellen Show DJ left a note behind, indicating that he couldn't go on. ET confirmed that on Monday, tWitch checked into the Oak Tree Inn in Encino, California, a motel less than a mile from his home. When he didn't check out at 11 a.m. on Tuesday morning, housekeeping and management knocked on his door repeatedly before opening the door and calling the police. Twitch's death was also confirmed by his wife, Allison Holker, in a statement to ET, where she...
The official story said it was suicide. A note had been found, but only a few lines were shared. It talked about personal struggles, pain, quiet things, and the world accepted it.
That's a rough one. She's out there dancing with Kristen Bell, and in the back, there's people that are getting up on the rack like this.
It's so weird when you see, like, a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be a bitch, right? You're allowed to be a bitch. You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life.
Something didn't sit right with some people, not just because Twitch always seemed happy on camera, but because those close to him knew he had changed, subtly, quietly, like someone carrying something heavy but refusing to let it show.
At the time. So Ellen, she's extremely popular. She's presenting this image that she's this kind woman. People fall in love with her and they tune in to Ellen for kindness. But behind the scenes, there was an Ellen that the public did not know.
The Ellen DeGeneres show is facing new allegations this morning.
Ellen's alleged bad behavior had been whispered about in the industry for years. But then BuzzFeed published this bombshell expose that revealed a toxic workplace culture at the Ellen DeGeneres show with claims of alleged racism, fear, intimidation, and sexual misconduct.
The accusations were kind of wild against Ellen. Supposedly, you weren't allowed to look her in the eye, she treated staff like peasants, and one former writer of her show said that she had a sensitive nose.
In the court memo, he spoke of strange calls, names whispered but never fully said, initials, hidden figures, places where he was asked to show up, not knowing who would be there. NDAs signed without reading, he said. The kind of contracts that told you to forget what you saw, and if you didn't, there'd be consequences. He ended with a line that stunned the court. If anything happens, don't just look at Diddy. That changed everything, because it meant Twitch knew. He knew something might happen, and he knew who not to trust.
At the time. So Ellen, she's extremely popular. She's presenting this image that she's this kind woman. People fall in love with her and they tune in to Ellen for kindness. But behind the scenes, there was an Ellen that the public did not know.
The Ellen DeGeneres show is facing new allegations this morning.
Ellen's alleged bad behavior had been whispered about in the industry for years. But then BuzzFeed published this bombshell expose that revealed a toxic workplace culture at the Ellen DeGeneres show with claims of alleged racism, fear, intimidation, and sexual misconduct.
The accusations were kind of wild against Ellen. Supposedly, you weren't allowed to look her in the eye, she treated staff like peasants, and one former writer of her show said that she had a sensitive...
For years, Ellen DeGeneres was seen as the friendly face of daytime TV. She danced, she joked, she told people to be kind. Kids loved her, parents trusted her. But things started to crack in 2020. That's when dozens of former staff members began to speak up.
She's got a Netflix special. That's the right response.
Yeah.
She's got a Netflix special. And here's the capper. On the promo, she plays the victim. And she says, "For me." And she actually has the nerve to say that she was run out of Hollywood. This person
with she with $100 million in her pocket.
$450 million, according to Forbes. That's a low estimate.
Yeah.
Because so now she's out there saying, "I was run out of Hollywood." She's actually reportedly complaining about how hard it is for women in America with the double standards.
Look at Oprah, how hard it is for her.
Oh, she's got, like 10 houses, Ellen DeGeneres?
Michelle Obama, look how hard it is for women in America. They're hurting.
They're going to let her back in, Rob, because she's a lesbian, she's a leftist, and she didn't hit one of their sacred cows. Nastiness, that's their bread and butter.
They said the show wasn't what it seemed. They spoke about bullying, silence, and fear. Ellen apologized, and for a while, people forgave her. Ratings dropped, but she still had fans. Now things are different. This isn't about rudeness at work.
Fish for lunch, and she even would send home staffers who supposedly smelled to go take a shower.
Since I preach kindness every day, this is a big one for me.
So after this expose, people were on TikTok, Twitter, social media looking for signs that Ellen wasn't the kind woman that they were watching on TV all these years.
So then what came next was the internet pile-on, which didn't help Ellen's case. People on social media started posting interview clips from her show over the years that were kind of cringy. There was this interview with Mariah Carey where Ellen kind of bullied her into revealing that she was pregnant.
People are saying that that you're pregnant. There's rumors. Don't discuss that. All right, well,
The memo from Twitch didn't show her as someone who stood by. It showed her as someone who led people into rooms they didn't want to be in. Anonymous former staff members backed it up. They said asking questions about Ellen's personal connections was off limits. They said it felt like there were always people watching, always rules you weren't allowed to understand. And suddenly, that smiling face people trusted for so long didn't look the same anymore.
Turns late, they have a hood on. I don't support that. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I wish her the best. Done? She's around for too long.
James
Fallon,
Corden.
all these people, walk away. You've been famous forever. Walk away. Like, eventually, everybody, they're just going to figure it out. Now, Fallon's on an apology tour because of the blackface. Like,
is he?
Well, he was. Like, he had to go around and apologize a million times for, like, they're going to find the thing if you don't go away. You gotta have a good run, and then when you have a good run, you step back and you go, okay, I'm still gonna do my thing, but like I'm not. I mean, there's only a few jobs in entertainment, right? Right. So I think a lot of the cancel culture shit is probably these motherfuckers want those jobs.
Ooh.
They're like, how long is this bitch gonna be dancing? I can dance with Hillary Clinton. I could do the Charleston with Henry Kissinger, whatever the fuck she does out there.
The Charleston, is that what it is?
She goes out there to the Charleston. She's got war criminals. Her and Bush are jumping around. I mean,
that's right. She was buddies with Bush. That
yeah,
was like
she's
one of
a
the first
CIA agent. Stephen Paddock. And do not ask me for sources, but Stephen Paddock.
Who's that?
He was the guy that shot up the Vegas concert. That was a very tragic thing. Listen to this. The only guy that saw Stephen Paddock alive, his name is Jesus Campos. He was a guard at Mandalay Bay. He got interviewed nowhere else.
The courtroom was still reeling from the first audio tape when the second one was played. This one was labeled Final Draft 4E. It was recorded just 3 days before Twitch died. His voice was slower now. He didn't sound like he was warning people anymore. He sounded like he was saying goodbye. He listed flight dates, hotel names, room numbers. 2 of the dates matched Diddy's party logs. One of them placed Ellen in the same building. Her private jet was logged arriving the same day. The suite she booked was under an alias tied to a shell company. But the floor was the same and hotel staff remembered her. Everything was lining up. The stories, the voices, the files. It wasn't just memory anymore. It was evidence.
Well, there was a dark twist to it because Mariah Carey went on to miscarry. This was not a good look for Ellen.
There was an internal investigation. They interviewed more than 100 people connected with the show, and now Ellen's leadership team is getting overhauled.
We were told from the very beginning, don't talk to Ellen, don't do this, you can't, go into her office. It was very nerve-wracking, very stressful. We all walked on eggshells all the time.
Supposedly she would tear up bad scripts in front of writers, in front of the whole staff to humiliate them.
One makeup artist was quoted as saying that when he tried to make small talk with Ellen, she supposedly said, "Who do you think you are? Don't look at me."
Ellen's former bodyguard.
Until this point, Allison Holker, Twitch's wife, was seen as someone trying to grieve quietly. People felt for her, a mother, now alone, raising their kids without him. But then, court documents revealed something no one expected. Just weeks after Twitch's death, Allison received a payment. Not a few thousand, not even a few $100,000. It was $3,200,000, 0 cents. The payment was labeled as a legacy disbursement. A spokesperson said it had to do with Twitch's earnings, his show work, and residuals, but lawyers weren't convinced. One entertainment attorney put it bluntly: nobody pays $3 million, 0 cents, unless they're trying to keep someone quiet.
A soccer tournament out there, and we wanted to go see her, and everything was blissful, and we were watching, soccer games and eating room service and going to have drinks together and going to museums. We bought a sculpture together, and everything was great. We drove there, and then we drove home, and I had no clue. And I think that's the confusion that I've always been left with, because I'm not going to have closure, my kids aren't going to have closure, because it's very confusing when you think everything's wonderful, but then you look back and you're like, oh, maybe that was a sign. but that's also still something that
It didn't look like a normal payout, and the timing made it even more strange. The court immediately asked for more. They issued a subpoena for all private communications between Allison and her legal team in the months following Twitch's death. Emails, texts, anything that could explain where the money came from and why it was paid so fast. What was supposed to be a moment of quiet mourning was now filled with doubt, suspicion, and more unanswered questions. But there was one more tape, the third one. It was recorded just 12 hours before Twitch died. Its title was Haunting. If They Say I Gave Up. The file hadn't been found right away. It was hidden on a password-protected drive. It took experts weeks to open it. When they did, what they found stopped everyone cold. The full recording hadn't been shared yet, not even in court. But 2 lines had already leaked. I loved my family. I loved dancing. But they're going to say I gave up. And that's the part that hurts most. People started digging, talking, sharing old clips of Twitch on The Ellen Show where his smile seemed a little too tight. Former employees who once stayed silent finally stepped forward. They spoke about NDAs, about after parties with rules no one understood, about being told to stay quiet or lose their jobs. One story stood out. A producer remembered Twitch coming in late to work one day. He just sat there, quiet, staring at the floor. Ellen looked at him and asked, "You good?" Twitch looked up and said, "Depends who's watching." That was his last week on the show. Now, with this third recording, Ellen's role wasn't just emotional anymore, it was legal. Her silence was no longer protection, it was part of the case. They found the tape by accident. It was stored on an encrypted drive Ellen handed over late in the investigation. The file was called If They Ask. No cameras were allowed during playback, just lawyers, the judge, and a few key witnesses. The room was silent as Ellen's voice played. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. But her voice cracked. "I told him it would be fine. I told him to stop asking questions because I was scared too. I didn't kill him, but I made sure no one helped him either." Those words hit harder than any headline. For years, she had stood as someone people trusted, but that tape changed everything. Not just for the court, but for the entire industry. By now, I believe you can tell, it doesn't stop at Ellen. The ripple is wide. Streaming networks have paused shows with big-name hosts. PR agencies are quietly cutting ties with old clients. The California Attorney General has launched an inquiry into NDAs used in Hollywood, especially the ones tied to so-called midnight floors, the kind of places Twitch warned about, the kind of places people pretended didn't exist. Now, they couldn't look away. Thanks for watching. Kindly reach out and drop your comments below.